Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMVA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Thursday, August the 8th of 2024. We can expect some partly sunny skies today with clouds rolling in this afternoon and some rain showers overnight. We'll have a high of about 85 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. The FBI is currently investigating a bank robbery that occurred in Aliquippa. Aliquippa police were called out to the Citizens Bank on 22nd Street on Monday around 3:40 p.m. State police say a black male entered the bank wearing a gator mask and yellow construction helmet with a gun. The robber demanded cash from two of the tellers and then attempted another to open the vault. The actor failed to get into the vault and fled the scene on foot, but that was after he also demanded money from a patron who was making a direct deposit. Bank personnel are completing an audit to determine the total loss, but it's believed to be around $2,000. The FBI was notified and they assumed the investigation. Police say that similar incidents with the same motive have recently taken place at two banks in Canton, Ohio, and the man is considered armed and dangerous. Anyone with information is told to contact the FBI office in Pittsburgh by calling 412-432-4000. Affordable housing was discussed at the Aliquippa City Council meeting Wednesday night. Archie Donald, COO of the Donald Group and brother of former LA Rams football player Aaron Donald, came to the meeting and discussed housing with city officials. He says they would like to give back to communities and explained that the group is offering affordable housing to communities that express interest, and currently they are working on projects in Wilkinsburg. He displayed photos to residents of the current apartments available. An alligator was spotted swimming in Lake Erie. According to WJW News, beachgoers in Erie spotted a gator Sunday near the East Avenue boat launch. Per the outlet, several individuals claimed to have seen a 4 to 5 foot long alligator, with eyewitnesses contacting authorities who then passed the information along to the Erie Port Authority. Officials say the Port Authority is working with trappers and are in contact with professionals in the South that have more experience with gators. Signs have been put up in the area warning of a gator spotted in the lake and that beachgoers should exercise caution. Reptile experts at the Erie Zoo say they don't believe the gator would survive the winter and hope that it will be captured soon. They believe the gator was an exotic pet that somehow found its way into the lake. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation wants to remind motorists to drive safely during their nighttime commute. While nighttime motorists may face the same challenges as daytime drivers, driving at night can present additional obstacles such as a lack of visibility. Drowsy driving, distracted driving, and speeding are all behaviors seen especially at night, and they say that each can create an unsafe situation for the driver, their passengers, and everyone else on the road around them. The Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency is announcing that 45 members and support personnel from the Pennsylvania Task Force 1 are deploying to North Carolina to support response operations in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Debbie. The group is scheduled to report to Raleigh, where they will receive more detailed orders. According to the National Weather Service, the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie will likely bring heavy rain to much of PA tonight into tomorrow, although heavy rain from storms earlier this week has already caused flooding in some areas. Residents are encouraged to review family safety plans and monitor local forecasts and weather conditions for details on potential flooding. And NASA says chances are growing that two test pilots who flew a new Boeing capsule to the International Space Station in June may have to switch to Elon Musk's SpaceX for a ride home. Officials said Wednesday it's still possible astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams can return aboard Boeing's Starliner next month, but if the spacecraft's leaks and thruster problems are not better understood, the two could find themselves up there until February, returning on a SpaceX capsule. Inside NASA, there's dissent over which way to go. NASA is bringing in extra experts to figure out the best path forward.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Sunny and warm today. There is a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the late afternoon through the evening, and some of those storms could be severe. We'll reach a high near 86. Cloudy tonight with showers and thunderstorms. Will drop down to a low of 63. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with a slight chance of afternoon showers. It's going to be a bit cooler. Look for a high near 78 and an overnight low of 64. And mostly sunny on Thursday. We could see some rain and a possible thunderstorm in the afternoon. We'll see a high near 83 and a low of 68. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, August the 8th of 2024, at 10 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 77 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's news. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Teleforum is on the air on Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. The show is presented by East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
I said earlier, today's a big day for everybody listening. You've got very little to do with me. I'm just Josh Cale and Jim Marshall were my guests the first hour. This hour, I said I wasn't going to ask you about politics, but I know it's going to come up because of your background. Jim Christiana joins me here in the studio. This is on the live Facebook feed as well. Good to see you again.
Eddie, great to see you.
I'm not going to ask you about politics, so I'll start with politics. Now that you're not a state rep, and that was your gig, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you pay as much attention to it as you had to because of your previous job?
Not as more of a hobbyist, I think.
Okay.
More of a citizen who's just interested in how all these things will shake out, right?
Do you feel less pressure because you're not a part of the system? You're watching it like most people from the outside?
I feel a lot less pressure.
Do you?
I feel a lot less pressure to try to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm more interested in how things will play out. Kind of from a decision tree analysis. There's only there's going to be a winner or a loser. That's the thing about politics, right? Somebody gets more votes. This year is a little unique in the sense that we thought we were on our way to a rematch from 2020, but that changed pretty rapidly.
Did it remind you of the scene in Back to School where the diving coach said, "Oh no, I'll put him on my list later. He's eligible to go"?
It did.
Yeah.
It's as much as people thought they saw this and this was predictable, I don't think it is very predictable to see somebody removed from the ballot, particularly for president, and still being the commander-in-chief for the next few months. So it's unique for sure. It's historic.
In English soccer, he would be at this point referred to as the caretaker manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's the placeholder. Now that led us into sports. Walk me from living a political life to being involved in M7, and tell me what M7 is. I read up on it a little bit.
Yeah, so M7 started, it was a company, a consulting firm that helps organizations grow. So we specialize in marketing, communications, community relations, everything from building websites to designing postcards to filming, award-winning videos and advertising campaigns. But what ended up happening was, and that's what I did after I left the legislature. Mm-hmm. We started M7 Agency, and then the whole NIL recruitment services for athletes kind of changed in when the Supreme Court allowed for college athletes to be able to monetize their name, image, and likeness, which name, image, and likeness is just a legal term for basically endorsement deals like we used to think.
Yeah, endorsement deals and appearances at the local store. You can make your own money because of who you are now.
That's right. You can sign autographs and not hide. You can do appearances. You can do camps for little kids and charge and make money off of that, where they could never do it before. In modern days, it's also now called influencer marketing. So in social media.
Is that just made up?
No, it's real.
Is it real? Because
it's real.
When somebody walks up to you, says, "Hey, I want to work with M7," you say, "Okay, what's your name? What do you do?" And they say, "I'm an influencer." how cautious are you at wondering about the level of influence? Because everybody seems to think that they're influencing.
Yeah, and everybody thinks they're influencing for positive reasons, but really they could be influencing for negative reasons. Similar to politics, there are candidates who go out and knock on doors, and it helps them a lot, right? They get to meet the folks. I knocked on doors the first time I ran, and it helped me connect with people. But there are also people that run for office that knock on doors, and the more they talk, the more votes they lose, right? So it's like the more social media content that some people create, the more and more they drive their audience away from whatever they're trying to promote. So I'm extremely skeptical of those that call themselves influencers, because it takes a unique skill set. It takes a unique skill set to look at a back of a phone and authentically communicate why your audience should purchase a consumer product or should shop at a local store or eat at a local restaurant. And you got to be able to create content and therefore effectively move your audience. You don't necessarily have to have a huge audience to do it, but you got to be able to create really good content. And that's not easy. So a lot of these athletes that think, oh, I want NIL deals, and I want to be an influencer. My first thought is, do they have the ability to reach an audience effectively and create content? Very few can do that. And so what we recognized is that the opportunity for us to help athletes achieve their dreams is really to help them get discovered to play in college. So a lot of families right now struggle with the ability to create a highlight video or a hype video, how to communicate with coaches and DMs. And
what makes it noticeable versus not noticeable?
Yep, how to stand out.
Yeah.
Because before, you think about it, even when I was growing up, you'd have to have a tape, and your high school coach really might manage the project.
Yeah, send me the tape.
Yep, send me the tape. And a lot of times it was the coach making the call and then send me the tape. Well, nowadays it's a lot different. First of all, coaches are overwhelmed with all the travel teams, and there's tools like Huddle, and there's a lot of tape. But how do I get that to the coach? And then more importantly, how does my son or daughter, a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, effectively communicate with a 30, 40, 50-year-old coach?
Right.
There's a lot of generational issues there and generational gaps. So what we help athletes do is effectively communicate as well as to showcase their talent. And so we do a lot of the filming, the editing of content. So we're going to bring this full circle. How did you go from a consulting company working with brands to building a multi-million-dollar sports complex, and why? One of the biggest challenges we had was having the facility space to create the content for our athletes.
Controlled environment.
Yes, the right lighting, the right access. Schools, and with the liability, schools are reluctant to just have a film crew come in and do it. And unfortunately, while Beaver County has been producing tens of thousands of world-class athletes for years.
More football Hall of Famers than any other county.
Any other county.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got hockey players now, basketball players, football players coming from Beaver County, but we don't have a multi-sport indoor sports complex. So how can we compete with kids with climate of, in Georgia and Alabama and
Southern Cal and Florida and all? Was it an aha moment, or did it gradually say, well, this is another example, this could be helpful?
Yeah, it's kind of both. There was an aha moment the aha moment was that we had already known about the space. We had been working with the Stefanik family on their new industrial park that you can see from 376. So when, I grew up in this county playing sports, so I'd know of the tri-counties of the world, right? It's an indoor soccer field, don't get me wrong. It's on a piece of cement, and it's an old hockey rink. And
they rolled some tarp sort of out on it?
Sort of.
Yeah.
And then, you'd have to go to Green Tree or the South, in South Point, where you'd have to go up to the Lemieux Center. Or
Swickley at the closest with the old river, or the old whatever. What was the name of the team?
On the railroad?
Spirit.
Yep.
Yep.
So all of these, and I'm like, man, what none of those have, even the new one in Coriopolis, the Riverhounds, even that one doesn't have visible access along an interstate. We have 7.7 million people that drive that loop on 376 and see our building now in the Stefanik building. So that was the aha moment, was we have the outside building already built. It has visibility on 376. We've got tens of thousands of athletes right here. We can really put this together and build a world-class facility that also creates access for the airport corridor and Moon Township and the growth that is over there, right? I think Moon is a great example where they have the market, but the cost of real estate in that area because of the development is astronomical. So really Beaver County and right off that Aliquippa exit is the ideal location. That was the aha moment. And the Stefanik family has been amazing partners in all of this, and it wouldn't have happened without them, as well as some others like Representative Matsy, Shell. And we'll get into kind of how do you have a vision of building something like this versus making it come to fruition, which is about to happen.
How long did it take from that aha moment to where we sit today?
About 18 months.
18 months. When's the grand opening? You get the big scissors and stuff?
Yeah, we're gonna do the gold scissors and the actual ribbon cutting next Wednesday with the Beaver County Chamber, and then we have a community open house next Wednesday from 4 to 8. And we got some cool star-studded lineup coming, like NASCAR champion Joey Logano.
Really?
Steeler legend Arthur Moats is coming by for a little while. We have some food trucks from Free Food for the community to come see it next Wednesday from 4 to 8.
Jim Christiana is my guest. We're talking about M7. That's the name of it, right? Mm-hmm. How does one go about calling Joey Logano and saying, hey, Joey, what do you do in the middle of the week next week?
Well, Shell is an awesome partner.
That car is yellow and red for a reason, isn't it?
Yes. It is. And I think, some folks obviously recognize the connection with Shell Polymers in Monaca and the cracker plant, as we've all known, we all refer to it as. But the partnership is actually with Shell, Mothership Shell, like, North America Shell in Houston. And with that partnership and commitment to Beaver County and their investment into Beaver County comes some really cool opportunities like being able to utilize their relationship with Penske and Joey Logano, and also Shell Polymers Monaca has a great relationship with the Steelers, and so Shell, and one of the reasons that this partnership was created was because both of us recognized the need for inclusivity. And what happens a lot with these sports complexes, and there's been a few that pop up, a couple billionaires happen to build a few of these, but what ended up happening is they start to restrict access because really they want exclusivity for their audience. Mm-hmm. That's not the case with us. And that's why our goal is to actually work with athletes to develop their mind, their body, and their brand. And that brand being obviously what they're doing in sports and utilizing their talents and when they go to college in NIL, but it's also about their professional career beyond sports. Because here's the thing, Eddie, we all have to realize, even Tom Brady this year is realizing that you got a second job. The NFL has done a great job of actually getting their players to recognize and pay attention to the second career initiative. And so what we are trying to do is let kids early on know that, hey, you got to also look beyond sports because everybody has to come to the reality that there's going to be another career and there's going to be another opportunity for you. And usually that's a big fall off for kids whenever they have to stop playing, whether that's on their terms or somebody else's terms. If their identity is wrapped up into sports, man, that's a big letdown.
If all you know is one thing and that one thing disappears in a blink, that's a scary moment. Do kids come to you and say, I want NIL money, and you have to walk them back to explain what you just explained? It's like, let's work on your brain and let's work on plans and on down the road?
Yes. Unfortunately, in this day and age, kids have access to a lot of content. And there are a lot of bad actors in the world that are promising, Division I scholarships and NIL dollars, even though they realistically know that the kid is more of a Division II or maybe a Division III athlete.
They're hyping up the kid to get the kid. They're not hyping up the kid to get the kid a gig.
Yep.
I got you.
Amen to that.
All right. Yeah, Jim Christiana is my guest. I got way more questions because you're going to deal with things, and you do deal with things that we coming up as kids. There was no NIL money. There was no videotape, all of that. I want to talk about the transition from the then time to what your endeavor is with the M7 complex. We'll do that after news on Teleforum.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the Best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the Best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
Nowadays, it seems like everyone is looking for words of wisdom that will really move them. Well, while I've always considered myself somewhat of a great orator, I realize this has to be about more than just my own eloquence. This is Andy Dangle from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Listen up. If you want to get moved, start with us. Whether it's moving Junior back to college or moving around in a new vehicle, make the move to the place where the interest has always been in you. Freedom United Federal Credit Union. If you've been moved to tears at the sight of tiresome paperwork and high interest rates at other places, move it on over today and apply for a loan suited for what you need at Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Loan based on credit approval. Stop in for special details, rates, and information. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does. And when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting RoeMonuments.com.
Nowadays, it seems like everyone is looking for words of wisdom that will really move them. Well, while I've always considered myself somewhat of a great orator, I realize this has to be about more than just my own eloquence. This is Andy Dangle from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Listen up. If you want to get moved, start with us. Whether it's moving Junior back to college or moving around in a new vehicle, make the move to the place where the interest has always been in you. Freedom United Federal Credit Union. If you've been moved to tears at the sight of tiresome paperwork and high interest rates at other places, move it on over today and apply for a loan suited for what you need at Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Loan based on credit approval. Stop in for special details, rates, and information. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
The Band Jam Grassroots Music Festival, presented by Woodman Life at Cooper's Lake Campground in Slippery Rock, August 22nd through the 24th. Catch some of the best local music the tri-state area has to offer. Experience the beauty of Cooper's Lake Campground and the best that the outdoors have to offer. All for just a $30 entry ticket for the entire weekend. Tickets are $40 at the gate. 17 and under get in free. Camping is sold separate through Cooper's Lake. Get your tickets and all the information you need at thebandjam.com.
Tune in to Good Talk with Matthew Modani every fourth Friday of the month from 11 a.m. to noon for an exciting dive into real estate. Matthew, a real estate pro, will share valuable lessons and expert tips on navigating the real estate market with professional guests. Stay updated with the latest news and sports in Beaver County and the Pittsburgh area. Whether you're a real estate enthusiast or simply enjoy a good story, Good Talk with Matthew Modani is your source of entertaining real estate, local news, and sports. The show will also be live on our Facebook. Don't miss out.
AK Nahas is celebrating our 85th anniversary with special sales in every department. Ashley recliners for $285, Whirlpool washers with removable agitator just $685. Get a GE stainless steel refrigerator for $785 and a Frigidaire dishwasher for $385. And for our 85th anniversary, all customers receive a scratch card worth up to $500 off your furniture purchase. Together, we've come a long way in 85 years. Thank you for your continued support. For quality products at the right price, trust AK Nahas, appliance, furniture, mattress, and TV. You'll do okay with AK.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Thursday, August the 8th of 2024. We can expect partly sunny skies today with a high of about 86 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Aliquippa police responded to a call of a bank robbery on Monday around 3:40 p.m., and now the FBI is involved. The Citizens Bank on 22nd Street in Aliquippa was victim of a robbery. State police say that a black male entered the bank wearing a gator mask and yellow construction helmet with a gun. The robber demanded cash from the bank. He held two tellers at gunpoint and then attempted to order a third employee to open the vault. The actor failed to get inside the vault and ended up fleeing the scene on foot. He also demanded money from a patron who was making a direct deposit. Bank personnel are completing an audit to determine how much money was taken, but they believe it is currently around $2,000. The FBI was notified and they assumed the investigation, and it is ongoing. The man's considered armed and dangerous. Anyone with information on the robbery or his whereabouts is told to contact the FBI office in Pittsburgh at 412-432-4000. Western Beaver sophomore quarterback Javen Peel is having heat acclimation workouts with the Golden Beavers after transferring to Pittsburgh Central Catholic 2 weeks ago, and he's back at Lincoln Park in Midland. However, he will have to undergo an eligibility hearing on August 12th to see if he is allowed to play in the 2024 season after the transfer back and forth. Last year, Pill broke the WPIAL freshman passing record, throwing for just under 3,000 yards and 32 touchdowns, which was the third most in the WPIAL. Over the years, McDonald's fans have built a special connection to McDonald's collectibles. From Happy Meal toys to merch, games, and cups, the keepsakes are more than just things. They unlock core memories around some favorite McDonald's moments. Now, for a limited time, McDonald's is introducing the Collector's Meal, which features 6 collectible cups that allow fans to create new memories inspired by the past iconic collectibles. The meal will be available all day long so customers can add to their collections whenever the mood strikes, and collectors can get the new meal beginning on August 13th via the McDonald's app, in-restaurant, and at the drive-thru at participating locations. The Environmental Protection Agency has announced an immediate ban on selling the pesticide DCPA or Dacthal. The weed killer was primarily used on crops. Federal officials say it harms unborn babies by impairing brain development and lowering birth weight. The agency struggled to receive health information on the pesticide in a timely manner. The company told the EPA earlier this year that the new protocols could help people keep people safe. The family of a French explorer who died in a submersible implosion has filed a more than $50 million lawsuit, saying the crew experienced terror and mental anguish before the disaster and accusing the sub's operator of gross negligence. Paul Henry Negligé was among 5 people who died when the Titan submersible imploded during a voyage to the famed Titanic wreck site in the North Atlantic in June of 2023. No one survived the trip aboard the experimental submersible owned by OceanGate, a company in Washington state that has since suspended operations. The lawsuit was filed Tuesday. A spokesperson for OceanGate has declined the comment.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Sunny and warm today. There is a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the late afternoon through the evening, and some of those storms could be severe. We'll reach a high near 86. Cloudy tonight with showers and thunderstorms. Will drop down to a low of 63. Mostly cloudy tomorrow with a slight chance of afternoon showers. It's going to be a bit cooler. Look for a high near 78 and an overnight low of 64. And mostly sunny on Thursday. We could see some rain and a possible thunderstorm in the afternoon. We'll see a high near 83 and a low of 68. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, August the 8th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 77 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's news. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
If you've got questions for Jim, because I got a lot of questions too. It's a new complex, and what's the actual address? And then I'll get to the questions. M7 is the name of the complex, and you're doing a whole lot of stuff. What's the address so people can check it out?
It's 2267 Todd Road. The easiest way to find it is it's the first right past Green Garden Plaza, right off the Aliquippa exit.
There you go. That is such a Western PA thing. You got to know one place before you can get to another place. Yeah. Green Garden Plaza. Okay.
And if you don't know where Green Garden Plaza is, then just go to Google Maps and search M7 Sports Pittsburgh, and the blue line will take you there. It's the Shell Sports Complex at M7 Sports Pittsburgh. And the reason is that there's going to be another building being built. So we're hopefully breaking ground this year, probably around Q4, getting ready for the second building, which would be a full indoor turf field with a 6-lane indoor track.
Do you have a typical client? Do you have, is it a parent bringing their kid? Is it the kid that wants, we talk about NIL money. What you're doing is all across the board, the packaging of the kid. And the most important part, and we talked about this off the air, that tape of you doing good sports stuff, that's one thing. What else makes a good demo to get recruiters or NIL attention?
You know, if these kids, trying to get them to understand that their athletic resume is obviously really important.
Yeah, we just heard it's freshman last year, 3,000 yards. That looks good.
That looks great.
Yeah.
The difference between him maximizing his talent and getting to the highest level versus what we would say is underperforming is the intangible test, which is, how do you treat your parents? Do you look that coach or recruiter in the eye? Do you give them a handshake? Are you able to communicate in a way that shows that you're willing to learn? Or unfortunately, sometimes those intangibles are the difference between getting a full scholarship opportunity at the highest level or having to, reduce your expectations and play at a lower level. And sometimes it's the difference between playing Division II and Division III. But getting kids to understand that your athletic profile and your athletic resume is only a piece of it is really important. And, this isn't coming from me. This is also coming from the highest coaches at the highest level.
What they look for.
Right. When they say that they're there and you've gotten them in the seats, you've gotten those coaches in the seats, they've already probably seen your tape. They've already probably seen your 5-star ranking, your 4-star ranking. They're actually watching you when you're on the bench. How are you handling the situation when your team is blowing out the other team? How are you interacting with your coach?
Are you giggling on the sidelines while you're getting beat?
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
An attention getter for bad reasons.
Yeah, and those things matter. Like, they matter so much. Like, yes, everything else matters to get that coach in that seat. But you know what also matters? That coach might be there to see the starting point guard on the other team. Yeah. But he's also
And that happens all the time. I went to see one guy, but we saw this other guy, and we don't know nothing about him. But dang, well, All the Right Moves.
Yep.
The movie All the Right Moves.
Absolutely.
Are kids more savvy about that than, let's say, you were when you were coming up? Or are they less savvy? I would think technology would help, but are they using it to help?
I think they're less savvy because so much of the social media era puts emphasis on the highlight and the viral moment
and the music in the background.
Yep. And by the way, that sizzle matters. We believe in that sizzle because it helps hook the audience. But that only gets you the attention. So whenever we're building out a campaign or persuasive advertising, you've got to hook your audience. But then you've got to offer your solution. And that's the part, right? What is your solution to that coach's problem? Part of it is your athletic ability, but it's also the kind of climate that you set and the culture that you set, and if you're reflective of that. And they are constantly judging all along, making very decisive decisions. And it's hard to come back from a bad first impression.
Jim Christiana is my guest. What you're talking about is really interesting, and it's really a new frontier since NIL started. It is the marketing of a person.
Yeah. And that's not so...
And that's so subjective in a person's mind.
It is. And it's also... there's a generational leap here, too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that say, well, I don't think that that's a good thing for kids to be a brand or to be treated like a brand. You're entitled to your opinion. You can not like it, but it's a reality. And it is what it is. Like, the kids nowadays with social media are an individual brand. The question isn't whether it should or shouldn't be. The question is, are you going to protect that child, or are you going to exploit that child? Are you going to help utilize this as an opportunity to teach them about good social media habits, develop skills that'll stay with them for life? Or are you just trying to quickly monetize it and you're very transactional? Clearly, you can tell by the passion of where I stand on that issue. But sports has an unbelievable way of getting kids' attention. Mm-hmm. For instance, you can tell your son that, good grades, they need to get good grades, they need to study. Oftentimes what happens is you could tell them till you're blue in the face, but eligibility, obviously, and now all of a sudden we pull that away, and that is what gets them into line. That happens time and time again. Why? Because we love sports.
It happened to me.
Yeah, it happened to me in 10th grade. I almost made a bad decision, and it almost cost me my eligibility, and that got my attention more than my parents telling me till they were blue in the face.
History class became much more important when I realized I needed to get it like a B. And absolutely, do kids know that?
I don't think they necessarily know it right away. It's one of those things you learn by doing. You have to kind of experience it. And whether your parents teach you that at an early age, my stepdad always tells a story about he was a great baseball player growing up, but as it goes, his dad took away basically grounded him from an all-star game. Something that he thought it would never happen. Like, come on, my dad's never, I'm playing an all-star game.
I ain't going to be in that much trouble.
He sat and had to watch his team play in an all-star game, and basically he was grounded. That changed his life. That's the thing about sports, is it changes your life. It changes your perspective. So I think most kids have to, kids learn from a very early age, trial and error. They got to get as close to that flame as possible. Sometimes they're going to get burned, and that's when they learn the lesson, or they can get really close to it. I tell my son all the time that, the secret to life is to learn from other people's mistakes. It's so hard, though, for kids to do that, right? They need to push that limit. But if we can get kids to recognize and learn from others.
I'm going to not defend your son, but how old's your son?
He's 8.
When you were 8, was it not a part of your genetic makeup to push the limit?
Heck yeah. That's part of that Y chromosome, I think.
That's part of that competitive nature that leads you to success in life.
All right. And you think you can do it differently. You can thread that needle. You think you're the exception. And meanwhile, then that comes with wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and wisdom is really just living life and experiencing it. I had a guy one time in Somerset when I was running for the Senate. He said, you learn by doing. And it was like so simple to me, but it was life-changing, that idea of like, yeah, that's what it's all about. You can analyze all the way up. You death by analysis, but like sometimes you just got to go do it. And sometimes you just got to go build a sports complex and find out if the market is there, because we'll find out. But that's part of life.
I believe the market is absolutely there, especially because you're not about, okay, we're going to get your kid a scholarship, we're going to get your kid NIL money. When you talked about the mental, intellectual, the intangible stuff, does that back people up? Do they say, well, no, I only want to get a video together?
Sometimes. So some people are transactional, and I think you can operate in transactions without being transactional. Hey, listen, you want a video? Come with me. We're going to make you a world-class video.
That's what it is.
And then we'll turn that over to you, and hopefully we'll exceed your expectations. And the next problem you need, we'll provide a solution. I believe that the more we get to know our audience and build relationships, which this facility is going to help facilitate that.
Sure.
I think more and more people will recognize that our approach is our default is when someone says, I want NIL money or I want a full scholarship, our default is to tell them that that's highly unlikely we'll be able to deliver it. But we can maximize your opportunity in sports. That's what we're after. I wouldn't have gotten into W&J without playing soccer. For me, maximizing sports got me into a school that academically I probably wouldn't have got into. Mm-hmm. It got me a little bit of academic assistance with a little bit of academic money, right? Mm-hmm. But it got me into a school that I wouldn't have gotten into. I happened to go to that school. I happened to get an internship with Melissa Hart. I happened to run for Beaver Council at 21. I happened to run for the State House. I happen to win. I get a law degree. I leveraged all of that from my right and left foot, right? Playing soccer. Mm-hmm. For me, that's
right foot or left foot?
Both.
Which one dominant?
Dominant right, but one of the guys that changed my life was Dr. Paul Stuck, and the reason being is he hammered me like no other coach to develop that left foot.
And you learned how to develop a lesser skill, and you learned how to leverage. And think about it. Your left foot, part of the reason why you're here today.
There's no doubt.
Do kids have the patience and the stick-to-itiveness, to use the crusty old word?
It depends.
Yeah?
It depends.
Every kid?
Every kid's different.
Okay.
I think part of the thing is coaches and agents and, parents is one of the hacks is to find out what motivates the kid. Are they motivated out of fear? Are they motivated out of ambition? And a lot of times, I see this more than you can imagine. Why does a kid who has all the physical traits, he has all the talent and ability, why does he underperform? Sometimes it's because he's got a great mom and a great dad, and that kid knows that his identity isn't about sports. It's not about the performance.
It's not life or death every game to him.
No, because he's going to go home and his mom and dad are going to love him. So he doesn't have necessarily the grind that a kid with a single mom has. He doesn't have the Mamba mentality.
He didn't need to develop it.
He didn't. And that's okay. Like this idea that all of a sudden we are going to force our kids to have the Mamba mentality or the Michael Jordan. Do you know why both of those guys had that trait? Is because they both suffered rejection.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan suffered it when he was cut. Kobe Bryant was the worst player on his basketball team when he was 12 years old. That rejection fueled them. Now, they had active dads in their lives and great parents, but they had rejection. Who goes around wanting to facilitate rejection for their kid?
Yeah.
Right? So
I want you to lose to learn.
Right.
That's tough.
That's tough. And so sometimes the kid just doesn't have that intrinsic motivation because their parents really love them and they know that their identity is not in sports. And that's a good thing.
How tough a balancing act is it when you've got kids, some like that, some come in and say, hey, my only chance to make a better life is to get real good at this. Where do you find a common ground with such two disparate positions coming in?
Well, the first I say is that one is to recognize that if that kid has that motivation and they have that grind ability, you need to foster it and embrace it, but you also need to prepare that kid for failure because that kid has such tunnel vision and such a drive that when presented with failure or rejection, that's going to have a mental and emotional consequence.
And it will happen.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's a matter of when, because it's when they go to college or they go to the pro. Maybe they're lucky and they go to the pros. Maybe it's when it goes away and it's like no longer can you compete. You're 36, 37 years old now and you're forced to have a new career. It's inevitable that bill will come due, and we need to make sure that they're prepared for it. That's the key, right? Confidence comes from preparation oftentimes, and we've got to make sure our kids are prepared for that.
That's what's going on right now in Latrobe. There are guys that have been the stud of their team since they were 5 years old that are going to get cut.
Yep.
At some point, it goes away.
And why do you see grown men, have emotional responses to that? It's the first time they've ever been told they're not good enough.
Right.
After an entire lifetime. And unfortunately, and listen, I saw it in politics. I was a young kid in politics that had a pretty successful career, and what ends up happening is that your purpose to other people, you become a piece, oftentimes a very valuable piece on their chessboard, and they start moving you around that chessboard. And man, that starts to fill that dopamine rush of like, now I have purpose and importance.
Right.
And then when it goes away, and now you're not as useful to them.
Now I feel worthless.
Yeah. There's a drop-off, and there's a consequence of that.
Do you do speeches at high schools, or do you go and talk to sport teams because you should?
Well, thank you for that. I haven't. I think so much of what I've been working on the last 5 years, I had such a public job, right? And a public persona. Sometimes that doesn't feel substantive enough. You can get in front of an audience, and first of all, it's adrenaline rush, but it could lack substance. And so really what I've been focused on the last 5 years is to build authentic relationships. And sometimes that public approach isn't authentic. And you don't get to build that connection.
It's broadcasting versus narrowcasting.
Yeah. And let me say this. I think once there is a genuine opportunity to transition to more of a public role or public opportunity, I think I'll embrace that. But right now, I think I'm focused on building those substantive relationships that are kind of underground.
One more time, let everybody know where the facility is, when the grand opening is. You got Joey Logano showing up. I know a Steeler's a big deal, Arthur Moats, but that's Joey Logano. The M7 complex. Walk people through when they can come check it out.
M7 Sports Pittsburgh is located right off the Aliquip exit of 376. You can see it from the highway now. It's the first right-hand turn after Green Garden Plaza, 2267 Todd Road. M7sportsusa.com. M7sportsusa.com is where you can find all the opportunities and sign up for the grand opening in the community open house, which is next Wednesday from 4 to 8. And it's a free event. Just we ask you to sign up. You can download the M7 Sports Pittsburgh app in your app store, Google Play, and the Apple Store. It's going to be a world-class facility where athletes of all ages can develop their mind, their body, and their brand. And what's really important is that this is more than a piece of turf. This is more than a piece of hardwood. We're building a community where moms, dads, brothers, sisters, grandparents, teachers are all working together to let athletes maximize their opportunity while identifying that their true identity is beyond sports.
Last question. Emotionally, you're getting much more out of this than you were being a state representative, aren't you? Down in your heart.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no regrets for my opportunity in politics. It created this opportunity. It was a great start to my career. But there is a hollowness that I think I didn't necessarily recognize when I was there. There was a lack of genuineness that I think has been scrubbed away and replaced with some really amazing, authentic relationships. And you know what, Eddie, I don't think I appreciated when I was in office how much you can influence your community without being an elected official, just by doing your job, right? So I think we need the public and the private sector to work together. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say Rob Matze and Elder Vogel were two people who were tremendously helpful in making this come together. A Republican and a Democrat really worked with me and my team to make this a reality. Not to mention the company that's at the top, the Pectin, the bright yellow Pectin and Shell. They helped make this a reality.
You come back anytime you need something, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Jim Christiana, my guest. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about coaches grading my verbiage.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the Best of Beaver County live on Facebook.